from Greece. I did social work, I think it's the last 10 years I did social work, but I also see myself as an activist because I'm involved in the anti-racist movement in Greece, which is running the last 20 years, and also in the solidarity movement that runs during the years of crisis, the financial crisis in Greece the last 6 years. So, I found very interesting what Ruth had said about politics and how politics in real life, and particularly in social work, affect social work and affect the way that we work, and how our methods actually have been built outside of social work. So I just want to mention here, and I will explain later, that at least according to my experience, I mean, there are very valuable lessons from the movements. I think that social work, and maybe it's because our experience from Greece, I think that social work, we should be taught by the experience of the movements. And I'm talking about the social movements, the users' movements, the political movements. And there is a unique experience out there. And I think that we also need to change ourselves, as Anela said in the previous round table, because we need to think out of the box. We need to think in a different way, and actually we need to act. And I think that I have some points here of how to act. And also it's very important what you mentioned about who is really in need, who defines who is in need at this moment with the refugees crisis. So, in the beginning, I'm going to tell you some things about the situation in Greece. I'm sure that more or less you might be familiar with this. Okay, Greece, the humanitarian crisis, again and again and again. Okay, the previous years we had all this, and we still have the humanitarian crisis in Greece. We've been blamed as lazy, we've been blamed as the people that are corrupted, etc., etc., etc. Now we are also blamed because we are not secure our borders very well. That means that we don't kill them, or we don't push them back to Turkey. That means that we do not safely. Okay, so we have trapped refugees. What is the general picture now? We have trapped refugees in poor countries. So the civilized Europe, this is, you know, a common phrase in Greece now, because I think the majority of Greeks at the moment, we are very angry with Europe. The civilized Europe needs to keep clean its cities from the victims of its policy, because it's the wars, and it's not only the wars, it's also poverty. And that's why I will tell you later, we need to question about our terminology, who is refugee, who is not. And of course, the role of NATO and Frontex. You know, NATO is back there, actually was always there. The United States was always there, and Britain, etc., etc. And now they are in the Mediterranean Sea, and their role will be just this. Get the refugees inside the sea, not allowing any of the solidarity movement to go there and pick them, and just push them back in Turkey. That will be. But also they have a political role and military role at the same time. So what is happening? Okay, we say about the refugees crisis, you know, this is not new. We had thousands of dead refugees the previous 10 years in Mediterranean. We had the wars in Iraq, we had the wars in Afghanistan. We know that very well because we had many dead people in Greece as well. Of course, now the crisis is huge and we have many dead children. And it's because of the dead children that I think the majority now want to show their philanthropy. But the truth is that it's not new. And we have to keep that in mind. And also we had all these years this anti-immigration policy of EU. We shouldn't forget the Dublin II Convention. What happened with this? Kept the cities of the rich countries clean from the desperated people. What's the situation? You know that from the news. Hundreds of dead refugees in the Mediterranean. Today we have tens of thousands trapped in Greece due to the closed borders. just in Teloni, it's in North Greece, in the borders. They are trapped about, I talked with someone yesterday, about 15,000 refugees are trapped there. Okay, we have these pictures all around in websites, you can find them. I choose not to cover the eyes because I found this hypocritical, and I would say why. This is a picture from March now, 2016, in Teloni. How people are gathered there and they're waiting and they're trying to pass the borders. I think, I don't think I know that yesterday and 2 days before, many of the refugees succeeded to cross the borders.
And I think that some of them have been returned by the other countries.
Torture.
This is also a photo from Martin in Teloni, baby. Okay, children's rights, the hypocrisy of EU. I hear all these things about the children's rights and how we have to respect them. But this is the situation, and this is happening in Europe, and Europe is responsible. I don't know, but I feel this responsibility every day. And I feel this responsibility not only because my country is a member state, but I feel it because I teach, and I teach to young people. So I think that we have to think what we really do, what we do day by day. That is the situation when it's raining in Greece, in North Greece. Okay, luckily, it's a country that doesn't rain so often, but when it does, the situation is absolutely awful, and people live there, and it's very cold. And this is the main message across Europe. 5 minutes. So, okay, I have put here some 5 points, challenges for social work. I will say some things about this. I'll try to do that in 5 minutes. So I have 1 minute for each of them. I think that it's important as academics, and not always academics, it's important to raise the awareness concerning the causes, to break down the myths, to have reflexivity, being connected with the movements, and the final one. I will be more analytical in the next one. Okay, raise the awareness for the causes of migration. We talk about humanity, and we have to gather things and give goods, etc., etc., but we don't discuss about the causes. Why these people want to go to Europe? What has happened? Because Europe, as well as United States, Russia, etc., are responsible for this. I think this photo gives a good explanation, but it's not only that. Because we have the refugees of war, but we also have the economic refugees. In the anti-racist movement, we discuss about the terminology. And this is a challenge for social work to start discussing about terminology. Ruth said before about Afghanistan, how Afghani are not perceived anymore as refugees. But remember, they had war, and the country is completely destroyed. Or what's happening in Africa. Are they refugees or not? But it's not only war, it's also poverty that brings people. We have to talk about the immigration policy and the wars, and we have to break down the myths. There's a big discussion, how many in Europe, how many is going to be in UK, how many is going to be in Germany, how many, but this is ridiculous. Today we have 1 million of refugees in Lebanon, nobody talks about this. We have 600,000 in Jordan, nobody talks about this. And think how many million are in Europe? How many is the population of Europe? Are we able to have some more millions of refugees? It's an issue of integration, it's not an issue of how many will be around the countries. And, I think it's also important to discuss who is really the criminal. Who is really the criminal? Are people from Saudi Arabia, are Islamists, who are they? Or Europe, and its policy. And these things it's easy, at least in Greek context, I don't know about your universities, but it's easy to discuss these things with the students. This is very practical. I mean, some days I go into the lecture, I say, okay, today I'm supposed to tell you about community development, but today we had dead people, so let's see what's happening here. It's some easy things that we can do and start break down, or going to the media and break down these myths and discuss in public dialogue about these issues. What are the needs of refugees? Do we really know today what are their needs? Or we assume? And what is really the frontline social work practice? I mean, during this period. In my mind, I think that we need further research in this, and we have to be able during the next year to do that. And the European Association School for Social Work, I'm sure that we can do more than this. Some of us call it Third World War, what's happening now, and it's important to see our role. Some of my students say, I feel responsible, they say, because my grandchildren will ask me, what did you do during this period? Where were you? Were you there helping? What did you do? Are we provide support to the frontline practitioners, and I mean as social work schools, do we do that? If we have the knowledge, if we have the political analysis, and we are open enough, I think that we have to do that. Because they are in the front line, it's very difficult to be in the front line for the time. Okay, and the link of social work with the movements, anti-racism solidarity movement, I'm not going to make a presentation about this. We have discussed a lot about these things. At least in Greece, we have the grassroots welfare initiatives that run through the crisis. Actually, there are more than 350. So there are some valuable lessons that we can learn from them, and learn also about trauma and how to work with people, or take a look to Palestine and the refugees camp and see there what people are doing. Not always social workers, but maybe activists, or maybe refugees themselves. And I have to put here a question, is from my experience, the anti-racist movement, which runs in Greece for the last 20 years, and they have developed a lot of grassroots welfare initiatives. They intervene not only in micro, but in macro level and in social policy. What about social work? Do we do that? Okay, here you can see some points of the solidarity movement for the refugees in Greece. About 80% or 85% of the, 80% of the people in Greece help refugees. And this is amazing, because you know that the majority now they are poor. But we haven't forgot our history as well, that we've been immigrants, we've been refugees. This is very important, but still it's not enough. Because we know that thousands of refugees will be trapped during the next years in Greece. What we do? Okay, this poster has been made by our students, social work department, during the previous day. So what we do? We created an initiative with social work students and academic in my department. We gather together, say, okay, we have to do something. We are social workers, we have to do something. How can we do it? Let's start with this. For 3 days, sorry, it's in Greek, for 3 days, the next week, we will gather things for the refugees, and particularly for the children. This will be our first action. But the next month, what we will do is to go there as a group and being in the shelters of the refugees and give direct help. No funding. No, we don't want funding. We'll do that in free time. Why? Because it's the meaning of life, and it's the meaning of our profession, I think. Okay, we had this idea to suggest that we need to have a common day of action. But as we talked about with Vasilis, I learned that European Association School for Social Work and S1 will run a day of 5th of June. In my mind, it's very important to involve students. Not to do that, 5th of June, okay, let's go out and give some things to the poor refugees, but during the next months to involve students and academics and activists in some of the things or the campaigns that we want to do. We can create a common poster across Europe and being translated in different languages, but in my mind it's also important to highlight these things. The causes of wars and poverty, open the borders, demand to open the borders, safe passages and honorable centers, and this day could be, as you have also announced, a common day of action. I think that's it. Thank you.